It's now my pleasure to introduce the head coach of the University of Oregon, Mark Helfrich, and the head coach of Ohio State University, Urban Meyer. Coach Helfrich, we'll begin with you.
Well, thank you. This is our 15th opening statement of the postseason, so we'll keep it brief. But very excited, obviously, to be a part of college football history and representing the University of Oregon, the Pac-12 conference, and certainly kind of West Coast football in a lot of ways. Tremendous honor to be up here with Coach Meyer, a legend in our game, a guy that's done it many times and had a tremendous amount of success. And congratulations to Ohio State and everything they've accomplished. We're ready to go. You know, enough talking and questions and answers and flashbulbs, and our guys are excited to compete.
Coach Meyer.
Ditto. I do want to thank the Anatole Hotel and Dallas, Texas, and this has been outstanding as far as a trip. You know, I always wondered when I first heard about the playoffs, how in the world would this work? And between the College Football Playoff Committee, all the people that did all this work, and then obviously Jerry Jones Stadium, and it's been a great trip for our players. Also, I do want to recognize Mark and the job that Oregon, a program that I know very well, studied them for many years, and have tremendous respect for really Eugene, Oregon, the way they handle their business and the way they coach, obviously. So this is a great matchup. It's college football history. It's a game that I've devoted a good portion of my life to, and same with our coaches, and now our players can say they played in the first college football playoff, a college playoff national title. So it's something we take very serious, and we're very honored to be here.
Thank you both. It's time for us to have our question and answer portion. We do have 4 microphone holders, so if you could get your hand up, we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. Give us your name and affiliation before you give your question, please. We'll start right over here on the corner. Dennis.
Dennis.cbssports.com. For both coaches, do you think the new NFL evaluation rules for the draft will help underclassmen just make better informed decisions?
I'm not aware of the new rules. Is there?
Well, I think just of how how they're disseminating the information is a little bit different than it's been in the past, and it's probably a good thing in terms of limiting it's basically you have the ability to be drafted in this round, or stay in school, and percentage-wise, it's a good thing. That's the bottom line. Is exactly what you said. Is getting those guys the right information, the best information available. Excuse me. They used to give 90 first-round grades and 90 second-round grades, and that's tough to have. So just getting those guys the best information, and then trying to talk to real live bodies, real live decision makers, whether it's GMs, coaches, etc.
Go next, right here to Tony.
Tony Barnhart, SEC Network, Urban, right over here. You've been in this position before. You've won a couple of national championships. When you took your time away from the game and then came back to coaching, did you feel confident that you'd be back here again?
Well, I don't think so. I think I just was obviously chomping at the bit to get back in it. But to sit there and say, well, I thought that we could somehow get back to the national title. That's everybody's dream and goal, but it's very complicated, and everything has to align perfectly for this to happen. So, no, that never really crossed my mind. When it really crossed my mind is when I had the ability to go watch Notre Dame against Alabama in the one in Florida, the national championship game, and I was there with ESPN at the walk on that field. And that's the day that I sent that text out to the entire team, every support staff member, and the chase is on. Because you almost forget it's a time warp, like this week is for Oregon and Ohio State, that these players and coaches will someday, because that's why I'm a big picture freak in our house and office, where all of a sudden you just sit there and stare at that picture and you remember what a great experience it was, because it goes so fast. And that was the moment, Tony, that I thought that's the driving force why we get up every day, and I just wanted to somehow share that experience with our players, and now we are.
Right up here in front.
Stephen Alexander, Portland Tribune. Mark, have you had any conversation through the last month or through the season with Chip Kelly? And just about how you're doing and just talking to him?
just about how we're doing in terms of, we talk, I mean, all the time, a lot of text messages during the season kind of is the most common form of communication constantly. And I would say zero on the topic of football. And just, a lot of personal back and forth with a bunch of those guys and with him first and foremost in that, in the Philly crew. But just a personal stuff. Yeah.
We're going to take one in the back.
Jake Zivin, KZI-TV for Urban. What specific changes have you guys made in your preparation to prepare for Oregon's tempo? Talking to some of your players yesterday, it sounded like you've been doing a little bit of different things at practice tempo-wise.
Oh, without getting into too much detail.
Be specific, please.
Next question. We have worked very hard on it, and I think the culture that Oregon's created is something I've studied in great detail. And I say culture because that's what it is. Ohio State has this culture, and so does Oregon, and so do all the great programs. Programs without culture, that's when you start to see failure. So it's driven. I think there's a misunderstanding of their culture where they play fast, they do everything fast, the way they handle their business, and that's something that we've beaten into our players, or not beaten in, but hard conversation. Also, the fine line in this is real. This is our 22nd week of football. How do you get a team ready? The good thing is it's not completely foreign to our players because we operate at a good tempo as well. But this one's different. We have the shot clocks up. We have a lot of emphasis about defeating the demon that takes place when fatigue takes over, and that's real. And that's something that we've addressed really hard. But ultimately, it comes down to those young guys out there playing on tomorrow night.
We're going to take our next question from the very far right to you gentlemen.
Chase Goodbread with NFL.com. This is for Coach Meyer, just because I had a chance to ask Coach Helfrich the same thing yesterday. Coach, with the game being later into the month now, it's just 72 hours before the NFL underclassman deadline, whereas on the old system, those kids would have had a week or more to finalize that decision. Would you like to see that deadline pushed back, or are you okay with where it is?
I probably would. This year we're unique. We don't have that issue. Last year we had 2 guys. One year I remember at Florida we had 12 players send out their paperwork, and it was after the 08, I believe, or 09. It was after 09, and that destroyed, that can really hurt a program. You lose 12 guys, and we lost 6 that day, if I remember, and that hurt us a little bit. So I just think that whole process, I think everybody's trying to do the right thing. I've been involved in those conversations, and I still think when you see as many underclassmen not get drafted and their careers just ripped apart, you need to keep evaluating this. And it's not right yet. But once again, it's not an attack on anyone because everyone's trying to do the right thing. So I've given zero thought to that because we have 2 players that told me a long time ago they're coming back. It was Taylor Decker and there's another one. I forget. Who was that? Adolphus Washington, and they should come back. I agreed with them. They just told me. I didn't have any conversation with them. So if we were in that situation, you would like to have more space, more time. So I think now that Thursday is a playoff, they should readdress that and move it back a little bit.
Coach Helfrich?
He said he just wanted Coach Meyer's input.
Sorry.
We talked yesterday.
Got it. Over here on the left.
Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch. Urban, I imagine that ranking national championships is a little like ranking your kids. When you went to Florida, though, you didn't have an emotional tie until you got there. You're in Ohio, and what would it mean? Is it possible to describe what it would mean to win a national championship for Ohio State?
I had a very emotional tie, the Florida, and the tie. I know your question, but to say that we didn't have an emotional tie, a very strong emotional tie to Florida and those players and really the community that we became a part of. Obviously, when you grow up a Buckeye and you grow up in the great state of Ohio, played high school football there, played college football there, that is big. I think everyone's dream is somehow, especially if you have a great experience growing up, which I can't imagine having a better one, in Ashtabula, Ohio, and with great fans still, great, every year I try to go back and do the best I can to help because it's a great place, and I could be more honored to be from Ashtabula, Ohio. So there is a strong sentimental feeling. Just once again, that we're work at Mach speed, so there hasn't been a whole lot of reflection time yet, but it would be great to win one for the state of Ohio.
Right here in the middle.
Todd Porter from the Canton Repository. Urban, the last couple of weeks have referred to these sorts of games where you're on the stage and you tell your players to take their best shot. Do you go into this game with that mentality in terms of calling plays the same way to sort of drill that into them as well?
Absolutely. There's never a game you don't want to take your best shot, but this one, you try to paint the stage so they're not shocked when they step in the arena, because it is going to be, the Sugar Bowl was incredible, and this is even ratcheted up a little bit more. So we talk quite often about when you have that opportunity to step in a batter's box, you get one swing. You step in a prize fight, you get one swing, and the great champions don't miss. And that's a mentality that we've preached for many, really forever. That's the way we train you. That's to be prepared when that swing, that opportunity arises to make that play, you be ready. And so, yes, we've really hammered that real hard with our players.
Back over here on the right.
Rusty Miller, Associated Press. For both coaches, you have a lot of young players going to be playing tomorrow night, and both of you also you're going to have some young players who are not able to play tomorrow night. Could you, without just going beyond tomorrow's game, could you talk a little bit about the future of your program and how bright it must be with all the young players both of you have?
Well, yeah, I think the first part of that is you get inside there, and we're going to be inside the stadium today, and a lot of our veteran guys have been here before, having played here before, have seen the giant screen and everything that's great about AT&T Stadium, and get the oohs and ahs out of the way today, so that doesn't take place tomorrow night. And then, yeah, we're obviously very excited about our future. Things are great, both from a football standpoint and athletic department standpoint at the University of Oregon. Rob Mullins has done a great job, and then also university-wise, I mean, we're the best, most diverse, biggest University of Oregon that's ever existed, and we think those things, are certainly they happen together, and so we are proud to be ambassadors for our university, and great things are happening in all phases.
Back over here to the left.
Ryan Thorburn, the Register Guard. Mark, when you think back to 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was, when you were getting ready for spring ball in Oregon or at Colorado, how well did you know Chip Kelly at that point? And do you ever think about how life changed when you moved back to Oregon and made that move?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of dumb luck and just outright luck in my career in a lot of ways, and I think that happens in this profession. But I'd known Chip briefly. We'd kind of crossed paths a few times in terms of getting together and talking football. I knew obviously a lot more guys on the Oregon staff that had been there for forever, some guys that are still here. And so it was I would say a professional relationship at best at that point, and then got to know him obviously intimately over the past several years.
Back over here on the right.
Yeah, Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Mark, if you could talk about Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, two of the big heavyweights in the game. Do you think we'll see more coaches like them that stay on long, win a lot of multiple championships?
There's not too many guys like those two that you just mentioned. I mean, obviously, whatever the highest distinction is, it's Hall of Fame, it's icon, whatever whatever those words are. The two names that you just mentioned absolutely qualify for that, and that's why it's been a great experience for me to be a part of it and see in preparing for Ohio State and all the challenges they present. You watch Alabama, and these guys beat soundly, one of the best programs in the history of college football, and sort of be around that and absorb all that. Hopefully, it does nothing but help us. And I don't know if there's too many Nick Sabans and Urban Meyers just sitting around, but there's a lot of talented coaches in our profession for sure.
Come back over here on the right, Bruce.
Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports. This is for Urban. I know Joshua Perry's developed a really special relationship with a boy who's battling cancer down in Florida. How would you describe the kind of person Joshua is?
It's a great question I'd love to talk about. He's a guy that was committed to Ohio State before we got there, a guy that was not very highly recruited, you could tell right away, very talented guy. He's still growing into who he was as a person, arguably the best family, one of the best families I've ever been around, and just started to grind and work. And I think through the internet I saw a couple pictures of what he looked like and now he looks like now. And he's got multiple job offers for waiting for him when he's done playing college football. One of those job offers will be in the NFL. I mean, that's how much he's improved. So he's what college football is all about. He's a kid that when my son, who's a freshman in high school now, my son gets to spend time with guys like Josh Perry, because I think that's critical that he's around those kind of guys. And it's not surprising when I see how he has the incredible ability to make someone's day a little brighter, and he takes that very serious. So a great young man.
Ralph.
Ralph Russo, the Associated Press. Both of your teams have had to overcome injury adversity in its own way. How does that make a team stronger, being able to get past that next man up attitude?
Oh, I think that's the essence of what our jobs are. You are going to hit storms, and we prepare. That's a big part of, I'm sure Mark feels the same, every coach probably feels the same, that a lot of our time is spent certainly in the off season, whether it be leadership training. You've heard about the E+R=O, where there's going to be events that take place. How do you respond to the events? You can't control those. There's going to be things happen that are from bad to awful. And how does that team respond? How does your family respond? And that's when people have issues. And we're all broken people that have to have some direction, some purpose, and some guidance, and we work extremely hard on that. And to see our team respond, I made the comment before that this team has taught me so much about how to respond to adversity, because I can't remember coaching a team that's been through more. Certainly when the Braxton Miller situation, then throughout the course of the year, other things have showed up, and they have really responded. So that's the essence of a good team. If you can hit the storm and come out the other end stronger, that's called a real team. And how many are those out there? I've done this 30 years and probably can count them on one hand. And some people might think it's the luck of the draw. I think it's leadership and training, and we certainly had that this year.
And I think just to echo some of that and agree, obviously, with everything Coach has said, learned a lot about our team last spring and early summer, just of getting to see how much these guys truly cared about each other was rare. And then whether it's injuries or, everybody talks about that word adversity, whatever that may be, or tragedy in the terrible case this year with Coach, injuries or loss. We've been playing, both our program and Ohio State have played with that kind of early loss, and it was your back was against the wall to get to this point. Every play of every game, the entire rest of the season, it was to use those words, do or die. And so you learn a lot about people. After our loss, we went out, and I've told the story many times, but we went out, walked out to practice. I was out there 25 minutes early, and I was the last person out to practice. The entire coaching staff, every single player, and they were out there together. It wasn't, hey, Ralph, that was your fault. It was, let's fix this type of mentality. And that's when you kind of just, it slaps you right in the face. And you already think you know your team pretty well. When something bad happens, what's next? And I think in both these situations, the players and certainly Coach Meyer and his staff have done a tremendous job.
Go back in the back.
Back left over here for both of you gentlemen, Urban and Mark Kenny Road of WHBC Radio. As you head into this game tomorrow night, what concerns you more? Your young kids handling the mental pressure, or this is game 15, the entire team handling the physical nature of this game and the pounding that they have taken and still have to play another game?
I think both, but our number one concern is their quarterback. I mean, it is what it is, that we're facing that's true, and those are all addressed, but those aren't quite as serious if that kid behind center for Oregon's not who he is. And so that's our biggest concern. The wear and tear, I think that has more to do with the practice, the approach was drastically different than anything that we have ever done as far as the practice routine. Really leading up, not just this week, but leading up to the Alabama game too. And we just don't have the depth right now that probably most teams don't. But the scout team issues, those are all issues that you handle more in practice. So I think the wear and tear during the course of the game, it's unique because it's a very high-tempoed offense. But our biggest concern is that guy receiving the snap every play. I think he's one of the finest that's ever played the game, and that's our issue.
Gonna go right back here.
Dan Moriarty, CNN. Coach Meyer, Cardell Jones started off the season as your third-string quarterback, but has led you to a couple big wins. Can you describe what about him made that possible?
Still trying to figure that one out. He actually won the job in spring. He beat out JT, and he's a guy that was not a finished person, was not a guy that would finish drills, would finish, obviously finish spring number one quarterback, would be behind Braxton when Braxton came back, and then August came over, and summer training, JT beat him out. His leadership, his toughness. Cardell has always had talent, but really something happened in the last, couple months. I know he had a little baby girl. I know there's been some, everybody in life has a chance to push restart. Not many people on the grand stage like Cardell has, and he pushed restart and he hit the right button. And it's called selfish approach and a very serious approach to how he handles his business off the field and on the field. So that's one of the great stories in college football and one of the great stories that I've witnessed. And like I told people, this should be, of all the things that my children learn in school, I want them to read about the case study of Cardell Jones, because it's a great one. It's a great one for everybody to read and learn from it.
Right down here in front, and then we have our last question over here.
Yeah, Urban Meyer. This is Tim May with the Columbus Dispatch. Urban, two questions. Number one, the latest conversations you've had with Braxton, do you expect him to return to Ohio State for his fifth year? And then number two, what is the biggest change you've seen in Cardell from 3 games ago to now that gives you more confidence than maybe you had 3 games ago?
I do expect Braxton to return. Second, Cardell, when he took over the game, actually in the rivalry game, near the confidence wasn't there for us to call a typical game against Wisconsin. If you really broke that down, we didn't really allow him to do very limited role as far as and he played great. I mean, lights out. Against Alabama, pretty much the entire, we let him go play, and then this one, he's got it all. As far as really everything. So his preparation, the way he handled it, he's an incredible practice player that I really have not seen him that way. And his, before the Alabama Wednesday practice, I remember walking off the field again, looking at Tom and just saying, my goodness, that's one of the best practices I've ever seen a player have. So he's got the keys to the car, and the way he handles his business is just it's extraordinary, the change he's made in his approach to the game.
Take our last question over here, Stuart.
Stuart Mandel from Fox Sports. Urban, your defense seems to have kind of, I don't know if something clicked, taken it to another level, starting with that Wisconsin game and then the Alabama game. What do you think happened, and what gives you confidence that they can rise to the occasion again against the Heisman Trophy winner?
I noticed that too, Stuart. We played good defense throughout the year. Sometimes great defense, and other times not as good. We gave up some big hits. I think obviously it's the players, and I give Mike Bennett a lot of credit. He's a guy that has leadership qualities, and they haven't always been. He has the qualities where people follow. He's a very talented player, but his approach to the game. The last month of the season has been phenomenal, and I see that carry on. And so it always starts with the defensive front. They played very well against Wisconsin, dominated the game, especially Adolphus and Mike Bennett inside. And they carried on, and they played very well against Alabama. So I give the credit to the defensive line, and Mike Bennett's a big reason. So a lot of reasons, but I've noticed the same thing, and the approach in practice has also been extraordinary. So I give a lot of credit to Mike Bennett and that group.
Great. That concludes today's formal part of the press conference. I want to invite both coaches to please stand, surround the trophy to get a photo op. Again, we need all photographers. to stay down. Yeah. Great, thank you very much.